So what role, we're getting into the heavy mechs, what role does the Quickdraw play in Battletech? How are we going to utilize this in the Lance? As always, we kind of look at, for Inner Sphere, we look at the weapon systems, especially as we get into heavy mechs and assault mechs, because now you've got enough bubbles, you've got enough tonnage that the mech can become highly specialized, it can become highly generalized, it could be a mix of ammo and weapons, it could go, ammo and energy weapons, it could go in long-range direction, short-range direction. I mean, you now have a lot where, compare that to some of the lighter mechs where it's like, look, after we get the bare essentials and you need that life support system, we're going to strap on a laser and like some machine guns. Here you go. Have a good time. So there are more rules, more considerations, more to build in your checklist when we're exploring these heavy type mechs. Paired over this, of course, Inner Sphere, heat sinks. It's not a question of having enough heat sinks. There are very few mechs like the Grasshopper that actually have enough in their design. It comes down to what's the rate of fire, how much do you want to push it, and, can you push it? An energy mech, you can push more and deal with the negatives to hitting and movement, where an ammo type machine, like, you don't want to cook off and explode. So we begin with the LRM 10 on the Quickdraw. This gives you something to do on the way in. And at first glance, if you've been following my vlogs and my Battletech Tactica, I might think, or you might think I would think, like, hey, this should be a 20 pack on the way in. Because 20 with the spread, it's got some bite. I roll legendary, like that's solid. The 10 is perfect because this is not a long range machine. We don't have redundancy, say like the Archer that we explored a few days ago, where you've got the 220 packs. It's not a little skirmish type like the Grasshopper where you have a 5-pack shooting, and the 10 is solid. The 10 gives you something to do on the way in. So on the way into fighting another Lance, kind of marching or walking forward. And, I mean, you could indirect also. What the 10 means is the Quickdraw complements, just looking at that, the 10-pack, the Quickdraw complements well a brutal short-range type Lance. Because a brutal short-range type Lance is going to want to be running in to close, 1 to 5 hexes, 1 to 3 hexes, as quickly as it can. But on the way in, you want to have something to do before you get into medium laser range at long range. You want to have something to do. So having a couple of long-range missile packs or an autocannon, that's nice because you can start to soften some stuff up. Maybe you're like, look, the Lance that I'm fighting, what's the weakest mech? They're all heavies, but there's a medium. Let's soak the medium on the way in. Or maybe there's some pesky combined arms where you're like, look, I can't deal with mechs and some tanks, so let's see if I can motive chew out those tanks. These LRM 10 packs and primary 1 long-range weapons, that's the use for it. So having a 10 pack's got some bite, but we're not going to take away from the close-in fighting by taking up tonnage and internal configurations with a 20 pack. And then if we have one 20 pack, why not have redundancy? Jumping to assault mechs for a second, say like the Cyclops or other mechs that have a 20 pack, that fulfills the same role, but an assault mech, you're jumping up for that 1 pack, the 10, the 15 to the 20, because you just got the raw tonnage. You've got 85, 95, 100 tons. So now we get close, and this is a laser machine. You've got multiple medium lasers. You've got a short-range missile pack for some crit seeking. It wants to get up there, and it wants to blast away. And this is the kind of the sweet spot where it operates. Now, it's got 13 heat sinks. So it's just not fire and forget and blast away, say like the Grasshopper or some other mechs. You're going to have to manage that heat. And the heat management is a little bit more constrained because, again, you've got ammo in there. You've got the short-range missiles and you've got the long-range. I wouldn't necessarily dump it because then I might as well play some other type of energy type mechs. It's nice to have that long-range missile 10, and it's nice to have that short-range pack to crit seek. For those of you new to Battletech, crit seek is where most weapons in Battletech are 1-to-1. I shoot a laser, one laser. If I hit, it's going to hit one area on your mech. With missiles and the way they operate, potentially there's the chance to hit other areas on the mech. Or crit seek is where, so that's crit seek. You're trying to hit as much as you can. Crit Seek is where it's not about the damage, it's just about shooting. If, the crazy example would be something like the Charger. If you have, for whatever reason, I don't know, something happened. Maybe your mech wasn't repaired. We're just illustrating it. You've got an assault mech all geared up, but for whatever reason, you take some damage, it goes to internals on your left torso. Everything else is pristine. The paint isn't even scratched. You've got your parade colors on. It goes to that left torso. I run up there with a Charger. You're sweating. You're worried because those small lasers, Charger is assault mech with lots of small lasers, recon assault mech. I like playing it for the lulls. I'm just going to be shooting. It's not about damage. I just want to shoot enough stuff to hit in that one spot and then potentially roll to confirm crit, then roll for the crit and maybe get actually something critical, some ammo, or, if it's an engine or a component or a weapon. So crit seeking is where, you use machine guns. You use everything just to try to get in there and cause that damage. So having that short-range missile pack is going to help with that crit seek when paired with the lasers, the medium lasers. And medium lasers, good range, good damage, good heat output. But in exploring that, this is where it gets kind of hard. It gets kind of challenging because you've got ammo and you can't fire everything. I find myself, when I play the Quickdraw, I find I want to get up there as fast as I can and get in some sort of terrain. And by that, terrain means either to give me cover or block parts of my mech or get my back up against a building so it limits your approach, because I am going to try to push the heat on this machine. And if I've got 13 base, I don't want to get any potential heat from moving or running. And if I'm good now, of course, if I'm not walking or running, that's going to cut down my modifiers. So I realize that. And if I'm cutting down my modifiers, then I want to make sure that I hit you. So if I'm going to push that heat, I want to make sure my modifiers are cut down. I'm not walking. I'm not running. I've got good range, because when you hit me back, I'm not going to have the protection of those hexes moving. So it's an interesting mech. It's a challenging mech to play. It wants to favor some close-in action, but you at least have a little something on the way in.